One thing women don't understand about men, probably don't care, but what they don't understand about men is that when you flood the market with sex and you flood the market with naked women and you flood the market, with your sexuality, men are no longer going to want to date you as a whole, as an entire gender, for several reasons, actually. The first reason is that, well, you're giving us an abundance of options, right? So, and that's not fully true in the sense that the market might be flooded with sexuality, but it doesn't mean the average man can access these women. That's true, and I think this is what women are banking on. They think that, yeah, I'm out here, sleeping around, I'm out here posting porn pics, whatever, women are out here doing that, but the average guy can't get laid very easily, so therefore I've got this scarcity vacuum where I can take advantage of a man's scarcity. Well, it's flawed logic, first of all, but it plays into the second point, which is that when you put yourself out there sexually, men don't want to put a ring on that. We don't like hoes, right? So you're basically just ruining the market for relationships and marriage by doing that. You are making men realize that sexuality to you is nothing, but to us it's a lot, and really you're just cheap. You're just cheap because a man looks at you, a man looks at modern women and he's like, these women are out here sleeping around, they're out here posting naked pics. I don't want anything to do with that. That's gross. I don't want that to be the mother of my children. I don't want that to be my wife. Well, first of all, it's logical that she's probably not going to be faithful to you if she's a hoe, right? Hoes are just not faithful. and guys have experienced this. We've gone out there and dated. I've done it where like I thought, oh, yeah, she was a, she gave me red flags. And it's like women think they can circumvent the red flags, but they can't. You can't pretend. You can't be a hoe and then pretend not to be a hoe. You'll eventually get figured out one way or the other. But now guys are just assuming it, right? We're just assuming that's what you are because that's what you all do. And that's what you all are advocating for, right? Not saying everyone, not saying every single woman out there, but it's become our culture. Sex is normalized. Being a hoe is not even recognized as a bad thing anymore. There's like this slut walk, they're trying to normalize it. It's like, okay, well, you can try to do that, but you're not gonna circumvent quality men's standards. It's not gonna work. You're not gonna circumvent what a man wants, and that's chastity. Men want women who are not used up. Sorry, we don't like women who sleep around. So it's this 1-2 punch of like, okay, on the one hand, why would we settle for you when there's these amazingly gorgeous women out there? And this is another thing it plays into, is that most women think they're a 10, and most women are probably not above a 5. If we're really being honest and we're really using an honest scale, there are some women out here that are just so insanely gorgeous, and they're hoes. They're hoes, right? So what do you think we're going to settle for? Why would we settle for you? What are you bringing to the table? You're a hoe just like that amazingly gorgeous woman is a hoe. So what do we settle for you for when we could maybe get that other one? The only thing a man is going to do is he's going to keep you around until he finds someone better, and that's a mistake. Guys shouldn't do that. Guys shouldn't sleep around either. I'm not an advocate for double standards, right? I tell men don't sleep around. That's because you're playing into the problem. You're keeping the problem going, right? So it's a lose. Like, everybody loses. You lose, relationships lose, men loses, men's lose, and but but you're sabotaging yourself. You're sabotaging everything because you think you have the right to go be promiscuous. You think, you can have your cake and eat it too, and you can't. It's like, sure, you can go do that. No one's blocking you per se, but we are blocking you in a way. We're blocking you to access to a real relationship. That's what you sacrifice. And women don't understand that, and they can't understand that because in their little minds they think I should be able to have my cake and eat it too because that's freedom and I deserve it. It's like, you really don't know what it's like to be a man. You don't know what real consequences are. You don't know what it's like to be mature and be an adult, because adults have to deal with accountability. We have to deal with responsibility. That's the real world. The real world is that, hey, consequences have or actions have consequences, right? Actions have consequences. So I go out here and I I'm bummy. I don't work. I don't have money, and I expect some woman to come marry me. It's like, it's not going to work because women don't want that in a man. They don't want a broke guy, right? And apparently we all have to just respect this. If you let a woman tell it, it's like, he was broke and da 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 da. It's like, okay, well, you can't have it both ways. Like, you can't be all picky, but also not have anything to bring to the table yourself. It doesn't make sense. And women will tell you that about men in a hot second. They'll be like, what do you think, what do you bring to the table? Broke man, it's like, okay, all right. Well, what do you bring to the table? Used up hoe. What do you bring to the table? Besides a used up vagina. It's like, it goes both ways, ladies. You can't have your cake and eat it too when it comes to this. So they just don't, it's a combination of they don't understand and they don't respect men. They don't understand where we're coming from and they don't respect us. So it's like, if we try to tell them where we're coming from, because they don't respect us, they just disregard what we're saying. And it's like, okay, well, you get what you get. You wonder why you're single. You wonder why guys are just pumping and dumping. You wonder why guys only view you as a sex object, because you don't have anything better to bring to the table. Again, part of what a man wants is chastity. He wants a woman who is not promiscuous, who's not used up, who has a low body count. I'm not crazy. I'm realistic. It's like, yeah, okay, by the time you're 25, you're probably, 25 isn't even a great number. It should be about early 20s when people really should be getting married. But let's say 25, it's like, realistically, you're gonna have a few partners by that time. So it's like, men who say, oh, I want a virgin, that's too much. But because it's just not realistic at all. And not to say there's no virgins out there, but it's not realistic at all for a man to be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get a virgin. Like, no, you're not. You're not. You're definitely not. But I would say under 5. I would say, like, okay, you dated a guy in high school, you had sex, you dated a couple guys in college. I'll give you a couple, like 3, 4. And this, which is why most women, you used to hear this, and you don't hear it much anymore because women are so brazen and brash with how, I wouldn't use the word confident. I say arrogant. I say arrogant in their promiscuity. They'll just tell you, a lot of them will tell you that they'll be honest about the number of partners they had, which is, a mistake. But we assume you're going to lie anyways. But a lot of women used to say, oh, I've had 3 partners. Like, that used to be the number. I've had 3 partners. And it's like, we know you're lying. We know you're lying. First of all, because that's just such a fixed number. It's like they always use the word 3. Well, I've had 3 partners. Because it's like a good number. It's like, yeah, that's not too many. It's not too little. It's like the perfect number. And it's like, yeah, but y'all got 3. Like, no. And this is where that whole thing came in, where guys had to multiply, like, multiply by 7 or multiply by 5 or something. So she says she has 3 partners. She really had 15, which is probably true, honestly. But it's just like, you can't win as a guy, because ultimately we're going to have to settle, and women don't have to settle per se. I mean, in a way they do, because their standards are so crazy that it's not logical for them to get really what they want. You're not going to get the 6-foot tall guy, super hot, with a 6-figure income as an average woman. You're just not going to happen, but they all think they will, which is why part and parcel of why so many of them are still single, because they're holding out for that dude. And it's like, you had so many opportunities to be with a decent guy that you friend zone because he wasn't rich enough or because he wasn't hot enough or whatever. And it's not that I'm saying you need to be with somebody that you don't love or you're not attracted to. That's not what I'm saying. But it's not about that with women. It's not just about looks. Because with a man, it's just like, we care about looks a lot, and which is why makeup is such a big industry, right? Because women love to fake it. They love to be hotter than they actually are. Most women, if you take a hose and you wash off their makeup, they're going to drop down about at least 3 points. She's a 7, take off her makeup, and she's a 4. Guarantee it, man. Guarantee it. For most women, some women do actually look pretty without makeup, and that's rare. But you're not going to get, for a man, it's like, just be a little bit pretty, just be decent human being, kind to us, not a materialistic gold digger. Our standards are so low. But women, it's like, no, I deserve this the 6-foot guy who's making 6 figures. Like, it ain't gonna happen, ladies. That's why you're single. You're holding out for that dude who ain't coming. He's not coming. And it's like, who told you that you could be so arrogant? Particularly when you're not bringing anything to the table besides used up pussy. It's like, dude, what are you thinking? Like, you're overestimating your market value. You really think that some high value guy is gonna settle down with you and all you have to offer is used goods. It's like, it ain't gonna happen, man. Not in a million years. What's gonna happen is he's gonna play you. That's what's happening to women today. They're being played because guys aren't stupid. We're not stupid. We know, we see what you're doing. You tell us what you really, that women are so arrogant that they think they can tell us what they're doing and we'll still just, okay, we'll still just accept it. And it's like, no, you got another thing coming. You're just gonna get used. That's all. That's why they're crying and complaining and no guy wants to settle down with me. Is essentially, whenever a woman makes a video and she's like, well, I had this problem with this guy, and then this guy shouldn't have done that, and had the audacity of men, and it's like, all I hear is like, you didn't get picked, sis. That's what I hear. You didn't get picked. If you're complaining about any date or any guy or whatever, and you're complaining about men in any capacity, you're not a happily married woman who's with a guy that she loves. It's just, you boil it down. It's just simple. It's simple math. It's like, and it's not, men have legitimate complaints. Women's complaints are always narcissistic. They're always self-centered. They're always vanity. They're always based on vanity. It's like, dude, you are the problem, and you could fix the problem. You could be the solution to your own problem if you just figured out how to be a better human being. If you just figured out how to say, okay, you know what? Maybe I should try this morals thing. Maybe I should try to figure out what men actually want, and I should actually start to care instead of hating them because I'm taught that way from feminism. Maybe I should actually stop being a tyrant. Maybe I should actually stop being so arrogant and look at myself and fix my ways and actually self-crit and improve, It's a difficult thing to do for people who are told that they're princesses from birth. It's a difficult thing to do for people who are egomaniacs, narcissistic megalomaniacs who, think they're princesses. It's privilege. And the audacity and the irony and the audacity for women to be like, we're oppressed, like, you're nuts is what you are. You're nuts because you have no idea how good you got it, man. And you're still taking advantage of the system, and you think we don't see that you're taking advantage of the system. You think we can't see you. You think we can't tell what you're doing. Like, we see it all day, every day. Like, we've experienced it, and we see it. The internet exists. There's a million videos out there. Guys are getting educated, and then women are like, I don't understand why I can't find a man. It's like, duh. You made your bed, now you're lying in it, and you don't like it, and it makes sense. So you reap what you sow. The Bible says we reap what we sow, right? Well, you're reaping what you've sowed, and everybody loses because What's funny is that women don't understand, like, out of all this issues, out of all this stuff that's going on, what women still fail to miss is that your role as a mother and a wife is crucial and it's important, right? And probably that's the biggest tragedy, is that nobody's telling you that. And which is why feminism is so evil. That's what feminism is telling you. It's telling you, oh, if you want to be a mother and a wife, that's slavery. That's the patriarchy. You know how evil that is? You're just ruining families. You're ruining society. And it's not that, like, I should sit here and be like, oh, point the finger, darn women. It's like, no, it's a tragedy, because mothers are quintessential, and wives are so important to society. And it's like, well, no wonder our society's in collapse. No wonder we're in a free fall. No wonder that it's just, insanity out there, chaos, degeneracy. No wonder, because it's like the backbone of society is strong families that are rooted in morals and values, ethics, traditional. Why are traditional values traditional values? Because they worked. You have two people who love each other, they support each other, they stick with each other through thick and thin. Women are jumping ship at the first sign of trouble. Women are jumping ship at the first issue, So, what do you expect? You expect men to just sign up for that bullshit? You're out of your mind. Men are not stupid. Men are smarter than that. You're out of your mind. Men are gonna walk away. Hey, I'm gonna get all my money taken, or half my assets. I'm gonna lose my house that I worked hard my whole life to get. The irony is that men work hard to get a house so they can get a woman, and what does the woman do? She takes the house. It's like, that doesn't make any sense. That should be illegal. It's wrong. It's sick of the court systems to do that. A man works his whole life to get a house so he can have a woman, and then the woman just takes it. What kind of evil shit is that? Right? So, yeah, it totally makes sense. And I applaud men for doing that. You got a backbone. Good. Because I've seen too many simps. I've seen too many weak men bowing down to some disgusting hoe just because she throws him some pussy. And he'll do anything. He'll bend over backwards to keep her, and he'll let her cheat on him, and he'll pay for everything, and he's just a straight up simp. And it's like, bro, and so men are waking up, men are walking away, and it's like, good job, kudos to you guys. I'll give you a slow clap, because these women ain't worth it, man. It ain't worth it for sure, like, anymore. If there's a million women out here who are naked, it's like, why would I settle for you? And you're not even that good looking. You're just the only one who chose me. It's like, maybe I could get someone better. Maybe, it's like, two can play at that game. Women have hypergamy. Women are always looking for something better. I guarantee you there's guys out that's what high value guys are thinking. I could do better than this. And women will always try to make scarcity. They'll always try to make sex hard to get, because they know that's their leverage. They know that's their power. That's how they can trap a guy into a relationship. But I think men are adapting to that. I think men are just like, yeah, well, I'm cool with being alone. It ain't too bad. I got porn, or I got whatever. Even if you don't have porn, it's like, whatever. Sex ain't that important. I mean, it's important. It's a necessity, but guys are figuring it out. We're circumventing that shit. Yeah, we might go through a lonely period or whatever, but we get used to it, And so it's like, and I applaud men like that. It's like, don't bend the knee, don't settle. Don't settle for something, some weak ass shit that you can do better at, some used up woman who's doesn't even have good morals or a good character, got some other dude's kid. Don't be a stepdad. Don't be it's like, do better, you know? Leave them to their own devices. Let them be miserable on their own until they change. And even if they change, it's probably not worth it because they've already ruined themselves. It's going to have to be the next generation, or this is the last generation before Armageddon. It just is what it is, man. It's whenever historically, whenever a nation becomes degenerate, the nation falls, and it is what it is. We're seeing that right now. We're seeing our nation fall because we become degenerate. We've allowed this. We've allowed our women to do this, you know, and it's because of our egalitarianism. It's because of our, you know, because we've been moral enough to give women their autonomy, to give them the vote, to give them their quote unquote freedom. We've been egalitarian enough, and we got stabbed in the back. We got stabbed in the back. What happened? We said, okay, you can go be left to your own devices, choose whatever you want. And what did they do? They stabbed us in the back. They latched onto this evil lies of feminism. And they're how many are not damaged by feminism? How many are not negatively influenced by that? Very few, man. Very few. Because feminism is very inviting. Oh yeah, it's all about equality, you know? It's a trap. And then the more you get into feminism, the more it's about hating men, uplifting women, promoting degeneracy. Yeah, go sleep around. It's your body. It's like, well, that's an evil ideology, man. So, yeah, man. It is what it is. You screwed yourselves, you know. So, and then as you're doing it, you know, you're lashing out and doubling down at men, and you're saying you're still the problem because you won't accept me being a hoe. It's like, so you can have standards and I can't. You can have turnoffs, but men can't. You just don't like men's turnoffs. You just don't like that we don't like gold diggers, that we don't like hoes, that we don't want to settle for used goods, that we don't want single moms, that we don't want overweight, opinionated liberal women with dyed hair and hatred in their eyes. Like, no, that's not appealing at all. Why would we do that when we could go potentially find some very kind woman who's not ruined and hasn't slept around and doesn't have a million tattoos and piercings? Like, it's just basic logic. Why would you settle for some guy who's broke when there's guys who have money? And so it's a double standard. You're totally fine with that, even though guys don't like that. We don't like being used for our money. I don't even think it's the same thing. I think that guys wanting a woman who hasn't slept around is not the same thing as women wanting a guy who's broke, or women not wanting a guy who's broke. It's not the same thing. One has to do with purity. The other one has to do with materialism. To not want a guy who's broke is materialistic. It's shallow. To not want a woman who's slept around is based on morals. It's based on purity. So they're not the same thing at all. But anyway, yeah, man. Sad thing. Messed up world. Appreciate you listening. Jay Lee, Northwest Podcast. Peace.